If you would introduce yourself for the record.
Brett Cullors. I'm in favor of this bill.
Great, that's good testimony. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Senators. Mr. Chairman and Senators, I appreciate y'all hearing our testimonies. I'll skip the story about my son for brevity because you've already heard about Wolf Parkinson White today, and our story was almost identical. We'd gone through all the annual checkups, we'd checked off the UIL screening form, and there was no awareness of sudden cardiac arrest that might be an issue. So I'm going to jump to a couple other topics. One, the Living for Zachary organization in Dallas, which you have a paper, and hopefully you'll enjoy that reading this evening, has a position paper in front of you about this bill in favor of it. But they work with the Heart Hospital Baylor Plano, and the Heart Hospital came up with a protocol for screening, and they chose to include ECGs and echocardiograms, combination. And in the 3,000 documented cases they have, the stat that they have is 4.1%, not 0.4%, or many minuscule amounts, but 4% had an undiagnosed heart condition. So that's 125 families that don't have to say, we had no idea. We are proactively, like other organizations that are represented today, proactively doing this, which is a real interesting point because in every other aspect of medicine, I hear you're supposed to proactively do things. You're supposed to exercise to do things. You're supposed to cut down on certain things, whether it's unhealthy foods or whether it's alcohol or tobacco. You're supposed to go get pap smears, prostate exams, breast screenings. Everything else is proactive. And yet this is completely ignored from a proactive perspective. We're supposed to wait and just hope there's an AED next door that can save a kid's life. And hopefully you know that that's only a 20% success rate. So the other thing I'd like to ask, if you want to ask somebody that comes up here against this bill is, what's the body count you need? Because they want to seem to think that there's just some number that we haven't reached yet that finally will make us all wake up and say, oh, now we've reached that point and we need to do something. And the fact is, like Senator Campbell said this morning, we can do something good and you can do something good today. And unfortunately, if Senator West were here, I'd say I'm not even sure if the current process is up to mediocrity. Thank you.
Thank you. There was any questions? All right, thank you, panel.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to point out I'm Ashton Cullors and I'm for the bill. I'm kind of shocked that I was able to find a cardiologist that was capable enough to diagnose me with an EKG and have a surgery and not be punctured and die. And not only me, but two other people in this room. It's quite kind of shocking. But moving on from those points, the heart conditions which unfortunately lead many to sudden cardiac arrest are a problem. But what's worse is that even as children continue to die, there's still no awareness. As someone who experienced symptoms of heart abnormalities myself, this is more than unsettling, as even after multiple onsets of palpitations where my heart would race in excess of 200 beats per minute, I had not only no idea what was going on, but no reference by which to validate my concerns. Unlike breast cancer, there isn't a bump, or whatever kind of cancer you may reference, and the time frame, unlike cancer as well, isn't one of months where you have time to go see a doctor. As soon as one of the doctors before said, I believe Mr. Cadigan, the issues are so acute that the first symptom you have is usually when you die. And who gets concerned when a 14-year-old tells them that their heart is racing? Awareness isn't something that can be changed so quickly, but the current system needs to change. And make no mistake, should it not change, children will die, and they will continue to die, as they have. Even now, stories are going around of Zach Clements, yet another football player, that collapsed on May 5th without warning in Brownwood, Texas. Now, luckily, he was able to be resuscitated after 20 minutes of after his heart stopped, but we can't hope for that. We can't hope for the secondary prevention. And as we saw with the young girl who, a week before her 13th birthday, passed out in a room with 2 AEDs, we can't count on the AED to save everyone. Will you let this stand? How many times do healthy young children need to die before change is needed? How many parents need to come asking for answers before we need to decide there's a time for a change? And how many times will you turn your backs on the helpless and give them no way out? Regardless of what some cardiologists might say, today the fact remains that children are dying, and we have within our means the ability to reduce these numbers, and quite easily and without pain. I'm not asking you to reconcile differing definitions of when life starts or reconsider the definition of marriage. I'm asking you to pass a bill that, amidst its shortcomings, would save lives that will otherwise be lost.